We actually are a fan of having a plethora of accents. If you can say like, oh, you want French English accent? Oh, you want British English, whatever it may be. You want a Jewish mother like Ruben always does, which is excellent.
Crazy. You can do it in one whole night. You can practice.
That's kind of like the point of this whole thing anyway, is we also want to like get to know you a little bit more, understand a little bit more of your story. We feel like you have an interesting story. You're definitely have a different situation compared to the rest of our students, and in comparison to a lot of our students in the past.
Okay.
You are Julieta, originally from
Argentina.
Wow. We definitely share that. That's for sure. That's how we connected. We met there.
Wow.
And we've kind of like stayed in touch.
That's a long relationship, guys. That's good for you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
How do you manage?
We do. We send lots of language love to each other, and it's just it's a beautiful relationship,
It's funny because I started a YouTube channel to teach Spanish. And that's how I saw you, Justin. Me, I'm like, I don't consume YouTube at all. And when doing these videos, I was like, I meet this guy that he's from the United States, but he speaks like an Argentinian. I was like, okay, let's see. And when I saw it, it was so funny. And then I saw the website, and then I was like, okay, this is kind of like what I need. I don't want English classes. I want English targeted lessons to take me where I need to be, where it's like, I want to speak more fluent. I want to speak with less of an accent. I want people to listen to me and not tell me, are you from Brazil? I really feel there is like this gap all of a sudden. We're like, you're not from here. And I'm like, no, I'm not, but I'm still like the same,
That actually it kind of is perfect for us to segue into the next question. Because like we really wanted to, truly understand, why it is that you thought you needed these classes. Like why specifically pronunciation?
Because I do feel, for me, in the experience I've had, my friends have told me, they love my accent, they think it's super cute, and I'm like, okay, maybe I found some type of resistance or friction when working, but I want it out, because I want it to be about the work, about who I am, about what I have to offer, and not about, I didn't understand her, she's cute, but what did she say? No. Like, I want to be like straightforward. This is what we have to do. This is how we can do it. Great.
We actually are a fan of having a plethora of accents. If you can say like, oh, you want French English accent? Oh, you want British English, whatever it may be. You want a Jewish mother like Ruben always does, which is excellent.
Crazy. You can do it in one whole night. You can practice.
Maybe tell us a moment that you had in our class, or an anecdote where you're like, wow, this is something that I don't think I've ever learned before. It was like kind of one of those, you're smiling, so it sounds like you can remember a specific moment. I don't know. Tell us.
Yeah, a couple. I remember when you, Justin, told me about the descriptive grammar, when I said, I'll get back to you. And you were like, no, just say, I'll get back to you. Really? I can't? Like, I've heard it. I've seen movies. I know that you guys say like, but me, I can do that? It's okay. You start kind of like paying attention to all of these little details, and you're like, wow, I didn't know that. I was going to tell you this. One of the biggest challenges for me is not the pronunciation, which I can understand. It's kind of like I feel fake talking like that. I have this thing in my head saying, you're not from there. Well, who do you think you are? Like, talk the way you always spoke. But I do feel that for me, it's very psychological, everything. So if you feel that your English is not good or your pronunciation is not good, you're going to kind of like start closing. And that's kind of the opposite of what we should be doing. We should be saying, you know what, this is my English, this is how I talk. I'm working on it. Teach me. Let's talk. Perfect. Hay que ser más cara dura.
Claro, tal cual. You got to get into character. You have to get to a level of concentration and character where you're like manejándote up in this level of like gringa mode on, and it's not you. You're not that. At least you're not now.
What types of things would you even practice before knowing about certain patterns that maybe we've brought up in our sessions?
Nothing. I had learned English when I was in school, but I hadn't learned English since I left high school. So since I was 18, I never spoke English again. until I was 30, 31. And I said, okay, I want to go to Australia. I know English. I studied it my whole life. I finished high school. That's it. I thought I would use English more often. I didn't. I haven't dreamt in English yet. I still don't think in English, which I think it's very interesting. I remember one time I thought in English and there was like this little voice inside my head saying, what are you doing? Go back to Spanish, speak English, go back to Spanish. So I never really worked on my pronunciation and I never really thought, okay, how can I improve my English? I was like, okay, this is this tool that is getting me to the places I want to be and it's fine. But then once I started writing emails and having to have phone conversations with people in Australia and everything, I was like, okay, I know it's good. I know it takes me to places, but I know it can be better. And I want it to be better because I know I can do it, So I don't want it just because I didn't have the tools or I didn't know how to, that becomes the impediment to continue to progress because with many other things, I didn't have them and I just continued and you get them, I really think it's just a matter of wanting, like everyone can do it. And if you want to do it, you can do it. And if you don't have to. That's the thing. When my friends were like, but your accent, I like it. And I'm like, okay, you keep yours. Me, I don't want it. Or I want to have it maybe if I'm talking with friends in Argentina or with someone, maybe I will not use it. But in certain contexts, I want to have the ability and the skills and the tools to say, you know what, with you, I'm going to be super, super American.
I love it. That's the spirit that, we're always really looking for. And I feel like, it's good to hear this from you because I think sometimes people, they don't hear that or they just think like, puedo zafar, like, puedo zafar, me entienden, yo los entiendo, ya está. That's okay. And that's good. That's an awesome level. Not even a lot of people don't even have that level. Well, then once you can actually say the right words and say the right phrases in the right tone, the conversation switches, the direction of the conversation switches. People are like, wait, but you're from Argentina? Like, how?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? Your parents? Or como?
I even think that for socializing is good because sometimes, at least that was my experience in Australia, it was really hard to bond, to have friends. And I was like, how? I've been here 9 months. Like in Argentina, by the first week, I would have invited you home, meet my grandma, have an asado. What am I doing wrong? and there's a culture gap and there's a way of being perceived as different and not from here, and you're going in a little while, so why make the effort? And I think that all of those things, if you can kind of like blend in more, then it's easier, and then you choose. But I don't like the limitations limiting you. That's the thing, like languages shouldn't be a barrier, they should be, on the contrary, just these cool superpowers you have to connect with more people, get in a party, understand. I do feel like knowing more about English, knowing more about French allows me to understand better people who come from that culture rather than having this distance saying, you're not from here, you're not like me. No, really, I've been there. Oh, that's so cool. I watched that movie, it's like so good. I really, really like the how it's structured. I really find that all the documents are super helpful. The fact that you guys green beans and you have colors and chats. That is super intuitive, because rules are hard, boring, and they have no relationship to our lives. So it's like if you just say browns, coffee, and all that, you're like, okay, and this is brown and this is green. Yeah, got it, perfect. So I find that super helpful. No, really. I find it really, really good. And I do like the flow of the class, how it starts kind of like, okay, let's talk about this. This is the topic. Okay. What I find that I'm struggling with, but I think it's just time, is that I understand perfectly what you say. I get it, fine. But the moment I start speaking, it's like, you put all on the old cassette, You've been trying to practice the A's or practice the and all of that. And the moment you put it, it's like, and then I went to, and you're like, and you're like, I know it. But the moment I start speaking, it starts kind of like, and the other thing that I got, especially with the exercise of the A's, I was like, that's not my voice. I don't sound like that. Like, what am I doing? My boyfriend was here when I was doing the video and I could see his face and he was like, Like, yeah, I know. Shut up.
Yeah,
so
that
you do get this
exercise is-
weird thing. And it's also a matter of practice. I see that. I find it very interesting now that I'm doing more sports, the relationship between sports and language. The fact that you just need to practice, you just need to repeat it until it becomes, this is easy. I don't have to think about it anymore. But it happens with everything. So it's just kind of like until it becomes automatic, you just have to repeat it and repeat it and repeat it and get all of those judgmental thoughts of, who do you think you are? Come on, wow, where were you born? Yeah. I mean, character, as you said, I think it has to do a lot of with performing, and playing. It's also like, okay, I'm gonna be Miss Carolina from, I don't know, whatever, and do it, because I don't know how it was for you guys getting your Spanish Argentino acento, but there's a moment where you have like this bridge that you need to cross it and say, you know what, I'm gonna try it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But if you're all the time, no, I'm not from here, I'm sorry, I will speak the way I should speak according to your stereotype or interpretation, then no.
There is such thing as like an objectively closer to native accent, and sometimes we get into this difference between an accent and like a character that we're playing, like this guy from this Midwestern state and has this accent like this, and that's also a problem because we've mixed those two things together. So if you're in the middle somewhere, if you're trying or if you're doing this character, I can see that being weird, fake feeling, but I'm glad that you can see through certain things, that you feel comfortable and to work on things, and I'm glad that some people don't have that need to change it. And for Dustin and me, this is like, we kind of like to break into the culture. We want the shock factor. There's not a lot of Chanquis hablando en castellano without the accent that you anticipate. That's the fun part. It's the connector the same way, but it's this gap between like, oh, it's kind of good, you're kind of speaking my language, to holy jeez. Yeah, and of course that's what we want for ourselves, but it's not for everybody, and it's fun to share when people are interested though. I'm curious, Julia, what you would tell people who are in the scope of trying to improve their accent, or they have this in mind, they're not sure how to do it. What would you advise people who are in your or were in your previous situation?
I would advise them to come to English speaking hacks. No, I mean, you can watch movies, you can watch series, but I mean, I've been consuming a lot of American culture and I can completely understand it. Like, it's not a barrier for me, but I cannot reproduce it myself. I needed this breakdown of the different types of la regla fea, okay, okay, yeah, okay. Even though I could hear it, I could perceive it. It's not that when I'm listening to it, everything sounds the same. I do perceive those different sounds, but I don't know how to do them by myself. So having that, and then seeing you guys with the tip of the tongue, is it going like this, or is it going in? It's like all of these things, they help, and it's kind of like going through the woods with a torch or without it. So with a torch in the middle of the night, you're probably going to get easier and faster where you want to go. I do think it's good to have a space where you can practice on these kind of mechanical things. What is my tongue doing? My mouth, is it an really open like in Spanish, or is it a closed okay. Wow, I never thought about it because we don't pay attention to these things. That's the reality. So I do recommend, I think also having kind of like a group, a community is helpful, useful. All of these things have to do with our insecurities. So it might be quite challenging. You're not only working on your ace, you're working on your self-perception, on your identity. So for me, that having a group is really good. It's boring to do this by yourself,
Yeah, being a part of the community, that's really what we're really constantly talking about and working on, and trying to figure out how we can even make it better, and find these people who also are super enthusiastic about the program, that want to even help or be a part more, who want to help coordinate things. We're constantly looking for situations like that. It's always cool to connect with awesome people in our program like yourself, and we really appreciate you coming on here and talking to us about this. We are learning as we go. We want to apply things when we can. This has been really helpful. There was some really cool things that you said, and it's really helpful. Yeah, I think that brings us to a close. I don't know unless you have anything else, Ruben.
Final words. Thank you so much, Juli, Tati, Ruben. here talking about languages, nerding out for a little bit with each other. I had a great time. Thanks for joining us, Juli. We'll talk.
Thank you, guys.